Have you ever looked at the Apostle Paul and wondered how he was able to share such wide-ranging wisdom? This video will offer a perspective that may give you new awareness and transform your life. First point I want to review is that Paul wrote letters to different churches. He went and he planted churches, and as he traveled around, he'd stay at a church for a while and then he'd move on and go to another place. So that's the first clue, is he wrote letters to different churches. The next point is that he lived in a very dynamic and changing environment. There was a lot happening. It may be months or even years between him writing these letters. So not only were the churches changing, but he was changing. He was growing maybe more in wisdom on his walk with Jesus. It became more and more. I'm sure more things were revealed to him, etc. So he was experiencing growth and change at the same time as the world around him was changing, much like we have today in the world, if you think about it. So again, shifting this context to and really focusing on the fact that he was writing to different churches. Next point is he was writing, and his writing to those churches was based on the state of the church at that time. So what was going on in that church? What kinds of things was he hearing? Were they getting to be too self-absorbed? Were they working too hard? Were they not focusing in on Jesus? Whatever it was. But he would write. Did he just want to check in with them and give them an update on how he was? So his writing was based on the state of that church at the time. And to me, this was huge. Think about that. So from my perspective, when I thought about Paul, I just thought, oh, this is a dude and a wise dude, and the things that he's sharing end up coming from God, and it's in the Bible, and every word is true, which that is all true. But think about it. What may be true to one church and what they needed to hear at the time could be quite different from another church. That's why he wrote different things to different churches. So then it is with us. Think about that. That's why the Bible is so, and here we're talking specifically about Paul, that's why it's so powerful. You might read something that he wrote and you think, well, this doesn't apply to me. And you may spend a lot of time trying to figure out, how can I apply this in my life? Well, maybe this isn't the lesson for you at the time. Maybe this isn't an application that you'll relate to. Maybe 5 years from now, 7 years from now, 10 years from now, you will relate to it. You'll be like, my goodness, this is it. Now this makes sense. I've read this so many times before, but now it makes sense to me. So with this revelation, and this was truly a revelation for me, you and I can relate based on the state of our minds when looking at Paul's teaching. So for me, it was the freedom of just reading the Bible and not having to think about, oh my gosh, what does this specifically mean for me? And that will happen. But it's not putting, like, if something doesn't make sense to you or if it doesn't seem to apply to you, well, maybe it just doesn't, because it wasn't written for you at that time. And you think about the Bible as a whole, and I mean, I don't think there are many situations or circumstances that you can't find in the Bible that people have gone through. That's why there are no perfect people in the Bible, of course, other than Jesus. So it gives us a chance to read the whole Bible, which is an account of Jesus. Everything, Old Testament, New Testament, it's a book about Jesus. Everything points to Jesus in the Old Testament, and everything is fulfilled through Jesus. And we get to have and experience his teachings through people like Paul. So for me, it just gave me just this sense of peace around the Bible, that it isn't something I've got to understand every word, every second. That's why community is important too. If you can discuss these things with other people, that's part of me doing these videos, is to share this perspective So again, it's not whether or not you think, oh, I agree or disagree, Robert. It's just like, okay, this is a perspective I wasn't thinking about. And maybe this helps to just turn a light bulb on for you, give you some new awareness that could potentially transform your life in the future, or maybe even right now. So subscribe with the notification bell to receive regular updates. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button to see more like this. Comment down below. This could be with questions or answers to the question you asked. We'll see you next time on this amazing journey from isolation to community, where the next step beyond is freedom.